Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking on one of the biggest books out there, a resource that everyone seems to reference. We're drilling down into James Clear's Atomic Habits.
It really is a modern classic, isn't it? I mean, over 25 million copies sold. If you're trying to build better routines in your work, your health, anything really, this is pretty much the definitive playbook now.
Absolutely. And our mission today is to shortcut that for you. We want to extract the core philosophy and, more importantly, the practical toolkit that makes this whole approach so effective.
Well, the central premise is, it's right there in the title. Think about it literally. Atoms. They're the tiny fundamental building blocks of everything.
Right. Individually, they're almost nothing.
Exactly. But when they combine, they create these massive, massive outcomes. And Clear's whole argument is that habits work the same way. These small atomic habits create these profound, remarkable results, all through the power of compounding.
And that brings us to what might be the single most important idea in the entire book. If you only take one thing away from this deep dive, it should be this mindset shift. Clear says, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems.
And that statement, it just changes everything. It moves the conversation away from, willpower or just obsessing over the outcome.
Yeah.
It forces you to look at the structure, the day-to-day process, because that is what's going to determine your results in the long run. We really have to define what a system is because that's the engine here, not just motivation.
Let's start with the math on that, because when you see the numbers, it's startling. If you get just 1% better every day at the end of a year, that compounding effect means you're about 37 times better.
37 times. That's a fact that should just, live in your brain.
It's huge.
But the flip side is just as powerful. If you get 1% worse each day, you decline almost to zero. So those tiny daily choices, they aren't insignificant at all. They're these compounding machines working for you or against you all the time.
So that math is great, but I think a lot of people listening would say, my life is already full. Where do I find an extra 1% without burning out? How does this focus on systems help with that?
That's the key difference. When you're focused only on the outcome, like I have to lose 20 pounds, it feels like this grueling sprint.
Right, it's temporary.
It is. And burnout is almost inevitable. The system, the daily process, is about reliability, not intensity. A reliable system works because you're just focused on showing up today. The goal line will take care of itself. The system itself becomes the goal.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's get into the core psychological structure here. Clear explains that every single habit, good or bad, runs on this fundamental four-step neurological loop.
Right, and this is standard psychology, but he makes it so usable. The 4 steps are, first, there's the cue. That's the trigger.
Okay.
Then the craving, which is the motivational force behind it. Third is the response, the actual habit. And finally, you get the reward, which satisfies the craving and tells your brain to do it again.
And this is where the magic is. He takes that loop and turns it into an engineering manual. He calls it the 4 laws of behavior change. It's a framework that lets you, the listener, actively build new habits by just manipulating each step of that loop.
It's incredibly practical.
So let's jump right into that toolkit. To build a good habit, the framework is simple. You need to make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying.
Starting with Law 1, make it obvious. This is all about the cue. If the trigger for your habit is right there in front of you, you're just so much more likely to do it.
And he gives 2 main techniques that are just brilliant at removing excuses. The first is called implementation intentions. So instead of a vague goal like I'll read more, you make a specific plan. I will read for 20 minutes at 8 p.m. in my armchair. It just removes all the decision making.
The second one, which I think is even more powerful, is habit stacking. You link the new habit you want to build to one you already have. The formula is just, after I do my current habit, I will do my new habit. So after I brush my teeth, I will do 10 kettlebell swings. You're basically using the momentum you already have.
And the third part of making it obvious is just designing your environment. If the cue is visible, you'll use it. You want to drink more water, put a pitcher on your desk.
Don't put your guitar in its case in the closet.
Exactly. Leave it out in the middle of the room. You make the good habit the path of least resistance.
So that brings us to Law 2, which targets the craving. You have to make it attractive. Habits are all driven by anticipating the reward, so we have to hack that anticipation.
And this is where we get temptation bundling. You pair a habit you need to do with something you want to do. The classic example is, I only get to watch my favorite Netflix show while I'm on the exercise bike.
You're making the thing. You have to do the gateway to the thing you enjoy. It generates that dopamine hit, that craving. And there's a social angle too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
We pick up the habits of the people around us. So if you join a group where waking up early to work out is just what they do, it instantly becomes more attractive. It's just normal.
Okay, law 3. This might be the most important one for getting started. Make it easy. This targets the response itself.
And Clear is very clear on this. The law of the least effort always wins. If a habit is hard, you won't stick with it. Your motivation on a Monday morning just won't be enough by Wednesday afternoon.
So how do you force it to be easy?
With the 2-minute rule, you take whatever big, intimidating habit you have and you scale it down to something that takes 2 minutes or less to start.
So run a 5K becomes...
Put on my running shoes and step out the door. Write a book. Becomes write one sentence. The goal isn't to do the whole thing. It's just to master the art of showing up.
And you do that by ruthlessly reducing friction.
Yes, you optimize your environment. For me, if the TV remote is on the couch, I'm going to watch TV. But if I put it in a drawer in the kitchen, that little bit of friction, those extra few steps, makes me ask, do I really want to watch this?
You make the good habits effortless and the bad ones a pain.
That's the whole game.
And finally, law 4. Make it satisfying. This is about the reward. The problem with these tiny habits is that the big payoff is it's delayed. You don't see that 37x improvement overnight.
Right, and our brains are wired for immediate gratification, so you have to create an immediate reward. This is why habit tracking is so powerful.
Checking the box.
Exactly. Just seeing that streak, that visual proof of progress, gives you a little hit of satisfaction right now.
And that leads to the don't break the chain rule.
Yeah.
The motivation comes from keeping that streak alive.
Yeah.
And you'll miss a day, life happens, but the real rule is never miss twice.
Consistency isn't about being perfect. It's about getting back on track immediately.
So now that we know how to build a good habit, breaking a bad one is actually pretty simple.
You just invert the 4 laws. It's the reverse engineering of your behavior.
Okay, so to break the cue for a bad habit, you have to make it invisible.
You have to be ruthless. If your phone is the problem, delete the apps. Don't just hide them in a folder. If you're snacking mindlessly, don't buy the junk food in the first place.
Yeah.
Make the cue literally invisible.
Next, to kill the craving, you make it unattractive.
This is a mental shift. You reframe it. Instead of thinking a cigarette is a stress reliever, you focus on the costs, the health, the money, the smell. You actively change the story you tell yourself about that habit.
Then, to stop the response, you have to make it difficult.
You add friction, lots of it. If you watch too much TV, don't just hide the remote. Take the batteries out and put them in another room. Add barriers until doing the bad habit feels like more work than it's worth.
And finally, to kill the reward, you make it unsatisfying.
You have to make the long-term pain of the bad habit feel immediate. This is where an accountability partner is so powerful. You make a pact. If you fail, there's an immediate, agreed-upon consequence, whether it's social or even financial.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Once you've got the mechanics down, Clear introduces the deepest level of change. He calls them identity-based habits.
Right. This is about moving beyond just doing things and focusing on becoming someone.
Explain that.
Well, most people start at the surface level. Outcomes. I want to lose 20 pounds. A better way is focusing on the process. I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week.
But the deepest, most powerful level is identity.
It's identity. It's not, I want to run a marathon. It's, I am a runner.
It feels a bit like fake it till you make it, though.
It's more profound than that. The mechanism is this. Every single action you take is like a small vote for the type of person you want to become.
A single vote doesn't change an election, but enough of them do.
Precisely. Every time you go to the gym, even for 5 minutes, you cast a vote for, I am an athletic person. Every time you read one page, you cast a vote for, I am a reader. And when the evidence, these accumulated votes, starts to build up, the behavior feels authentic. It's just who you are.
Let's shift to a couple of counterintuitive ideas that really help when you're just starting out. The first one is called the plateau of latent potential.
This explains why so many people quit. You're doing the work, you're making those 1% changes every day, but for weeks, maybe months, nothing seems to happen. You're on this plateau.
It feels like you're failing.
Right. But the effort isn't wasted. It's building up potential under the surface. It's like an ice cube in a room. The temperature goes from 25 degrees to 28 to 31. You see no change. And then at 32 degrees, bam, it starts to melt.
And most people quit at 31 degrees.
They quit at 31 degrees because they're looking for the outcome, not trusting the system that's raising the temperature.
The second idea is the Goldilocks rule. We think motivation comes from really easy or really hard tasks.
But the research shows our motivation actually peaks when a task is just hard enough. Not so easy that it's boring, but not so hard that it's overwhelming. That's the sweet spot for staying engaged long term.
So how does that fit with the 2-minute rule, which is all about making things super easy?
It's a sequence. The 2-minute rule is just to get you started, to cast that first identity vote and make the habit automatic. Once showing up is easy, then you use the Goldilocks rule to slowly increase the difficulty to keep it challenging and keep you growing.
Okay, but what's the downside here? If our habits become too automatic, don't we risk just stagnating?
That is the danger, yeah. Complacency. Once something is automatic, we start paying attention to it. Clear's answer is periodic reflection and review. You have to set aside time, maybe once a quarter, to look at your systems and ask, is this still serving me? Is it still aligned with the person I want to be in 6 months?
So what does this all mean for someone listening today? I think the biggest takeaway is this shift from relying on motivation to relying on your environment.
That's it, 100%. Designing your surroundings so good habits are obvious and easy, and bad habits are invisible and difficult. That is a far, far superior strategy than just trying to grind it out with willpower, which we all know is finite. System design is the answer.
So to wrap this up, the core of this deep dive is that real, sustained change doesn't come from some huge, heroic effort. It comes from building small, repeatable systems using that 4-law framework. Obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying, to literally engineer your own behavior.
It's an incredibly practical philosophy. Most people who really engage with this don't just walk away with theories. They walk away with a concrete list of 5 or 10 tiny changes they can make today, right now, to start building a better system.
And as you think about all this, we want to leave you with one final thought, and it ties back to that powerful idea of identity. If every action you take is a vote for the person you want to become, what is one vote you've been unintentionally casting against that identity this week? And what tiny atomic habit inversion, making it invisible, unattractive, difficult, or unsatisfying, could you implement today, right now, to change that vote? Think small, think consistent, and let those atoms start building.